Yo people, welcome back to another video. Now today is a who would win the male and female divisions of the Sekai Taikai video. In this scenario, it would only include the teenage fighters that we see across the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai universe. So characters like Mr. Miyagi and Master Kim are off limits in terms of fighters. They could appear as senseis. Characters like Julie Pierce and Chosen in Karate Kid are allowed. There may be occasions where characters overlap, for example Daniel as a student and then Daniel as a sensei, and that's fine. So I'll give you the options and the reasoning as to why each fighter could win or wouldn't win for both male and female divisions, and then I'm going to have a follow-up video tomorrow where I put all the fighters into knockout brackets and pick out my winners. Let me know down below in the comments who you think would win for each division. I'd appreciate if you could sub to the channel as well and like the video as it helps to support the channel. Stay tuned for the follow-up video tomorrow, and without further ado, let's get straight into this. So let's start with the male division. There will be 8 candidates and we'll start with Daniel LaRusso, a 2-time All Valley champion, and personally I think he'd have a very low chance of winning based off talent. However, he does have what will help increase his odds, which is his sensei Mr. Miyagi. We saw how Mr. Miyagi pretty much masterminded his wins. Mr. Miyagi was his rock. Whenever he was in trouble, Mr. Miyagi would save him, and for me that's the only reason why I give him a chance of winning, to be honest. We saw v Mike Barnes, he needed Miyagi to make him stop being scared. Also, Terry Silver ruined Barnes with that whole winner point, loser point strategy. But overall, Daniel still has a great defense. I think once he comes up against other styles, he would struggle since Miyagi basically trained him to defend himself and not actually go into global tournaments trying to win. Next is Johnny Lawrence, another 2-time All Valley champion. For me, he's far more talented than Daniel LaRusso. However, as we've even seen in Karate Kid and Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3, he is too eager to attack. Kreese as well guiding him doesn't really help his chances. Yes, they've won together, they've won All Valleys before, but I'm not sure about Kreese, and if anything, it's what holds Johnny back. I think if Johnny had Mr. Miyagi, that would be a stronger duo, but Johnny could definitely get far depending on the bracket and depending on who he faces. I think he would struggle with the lack of defense. I also think him and Daniel, as well as the next 2 fighters, would be at a disadvantage compared to the others, since this would be their first Sekai Taikai. The next fighter is Chosen. Now, he is a fierce warrior and a great street fighter. However, I'm not convinced that he would win the Sekai Taikai because at this point in his life, he lacks the tournament experience, he lacks the mental balance. We don't really get any information on his previous achievements, but we know that he is the adopted Miyagi-Do's son. He does use that style, but he also has his own temper that fuels his offense. Depending on who he gets in the draw, he could do something with his unpredictable nature, but losing to Daniel in Karate Kid 2 isn't a good look. We also don't know how Sato would be as a sensei, so again, I'd actually say Chosen probably has the lowest chance out of everyone, but if you think he has a chance, let me know down below in the comments. Next up is Mike Barnes, and I think depending on who he gets in the draw out of these 8 male fighters, he could go far, but again, he is a great offensive fighter. I do think with Terry Silver as his sensei, it would probably cost him, as we saw in Karate Kid 3, where Terry's stupid tactics made him lose, but he is still a respectable fighter, and in any other situation, he wins that fight, he wins the All Valley. I do think if he comes up against another aggressive fighter, he would struggle more. It is obviously hard to bet against Mike in general with his whole karate's bad boy image, his personality, and just his strengths. The next male fighter is Miguel Diaz, the 1-time All Valley champion, the 1-time Sekai Taikai champion. I think he would have a strong chance of winning because for starters, he has the experience of fighting and winning this tournament. The next reason is because he relies on himself to fight. Of course, Johnny will be there as his sensei, but it's more of a motivator role. It's not like he needs to be given strategies like how we see with Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. I think Miguel is a far more independent fighter that can think for himself. The third reason is that Miguel knows both Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do styles, which allows him to adjust to the opponent and flip their strengths onto them. And you'll see more of what I mean in the next video with actual scenarios. The next fighter is Robby. I think he shares a lot of similarities with Miguel, which also gives him a very strong chance of winning, such as the experience of competing at the Sekai Taikai, also knowing the Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai styles. With Daniel as his sensei as well, it complements Robby because again, Daniel can do the motivational speech which helps Robby, but he can do the whole strategy thing kind of like how Miyagi would do it, and it boosts Robby's chances to win overall. I'd say his lack of experience of actually getting over the line and finally winning would be a weak point, but it doesn't take away from his overall chances. That would be the slight blip, but overall he has a great chance. Next up is Axel. Apparently he won the 2018 Sekai Taikai, which is news to me. The show didn't really speak much or highlight any of his past events other than he traveled places, but I mean, it makes sense that he has won a Sekai Taikai. We know he has the experience of winning, which helps. With Axel, we know what we're going to get. Brute force, very powerful fighter both in offense and defense. He's a proven winner and very difficult to beat, especially because of his height, which makes his chances very high. He is the Goliath of this situation, and in theory, he would be the safe bet of who would win. One thing to doubt, again, for another villain character, is how good is the sensei that he has when it comes to being clutch and helping his student mentally. We saw that Sensei Wolf messed him up in the Sekai Taikai at the end, so would it be a repeat? Would we get a different outcome? I think that's the one negative area. The next fighter is Kwon. Obviously he died and I feel like people write him off because of that. If anything now I think he's underrated because people just say, oh, he died, he's irrelevant. But I think skill-wise, there's no reason why he doesn't have a good chance of winning, especially with the skill, the flair, and the attacking range that he has. I think as well, his mentality, his anger, his rage may be a downside, but overall, I still think he's a strong candidate. But would he be in the same boat as Mike Barnes, Johnny Lawrence, Daniel LaRusso, where they're too one-dimensional? Let me know down below in the comments where you think Kwon would place and who he would beat. Now, let's move on to the female division, and I have 4 fighters in this division, and let's start with Julie Pierce. It would have been cool to see what she got up to after her film, but we got absolutely nothing in Cobra Kai. I think as for her abilities, she did seem pretty strong, and she even had those kicks added into her moveset. I do believe, as I've said for Chosen for example, she would have to adapt to the tournament situation and would be struggling in terms of experience, but I think she is still a solid fighter. With Mr. Miyagi in her corner, it only boosts her chances as well. I actually think that her perfect counterpart is actually Tori, which leads me on to Tori Nichols, the one-time Sekai Taikai champion. The reason I've compared them both is that they're pretty similar in terms of their character, but their strength in terms of fighting is actually the opposite. Tori is stronger in the offense, Julie is stronger in the defense, but they both have that hot-headed, fierce personality and aggression if needed. As for Tori, what makes her stand out and be a very strong pick is that she also has the Miyagi-Do knowledge. As I've said about Miguel and Robby, it is an advantage when you know both styles, so I'd say Tori has a good chance of winning just because of that. Johnny as her sensei, I think it would be good. It wouldn't really stand out. I'm not sure if it would work the same as the Johnny and Miguel duo, but it's still good sensei to have. Next up is Zara, who is also apparently the 2018 Sekai Taikai winner, and she is very similar to Kwon in the sense that ability-wise, there's no doubt that she can win the Sekai Taikai in this scenario, but she is also helped by her trash talking and her mind games, which gets to her opponents. Her, like Tori, have the experience of what it's like to win, and with Zara, her style is very unique that none of the other female fighters have. It's an explosive and quick approach that's hard to stop, and it makes her a strong candidate just for having that unique style. We know that she can attack and she can defend as well, which boosts her, but that rapidness that she has also makes her stand out. In terms of her sensei, we actually never see an interaction between her and Wolf, so I don't know how that would play out. I think Wolf wouldn't be a negative compared to with Axel, because I just assume Wolf wouldn't be aggressive and abusive towards a female. Last but not least is Sam LaRusso. Her strength is defense, as we know. You could argue, yeah, she doesn't know as much offense as Tori knows defense, and I agree, but I think Sam's mindset is better than the rest of the competitors. I'd question her motivation. Does she have that grit and determination to keep fighting if it were to get ugly? I think the other 3 fighters do. I'm not so sure about Sam. However, I think she can control the tempo of a fight very well, and I think it doesn't get highlighted enough in the show, but with her great defense, she can slow everything down. She can start doing the attacking and boost the tempo if she wants to because of her attacking knowledge. And with Daniel as her sensei, it would only boost her confidence, and because Daniel obviously knows her very well, this gives Sam a slight advantage and overall a strong chance at winning the Sekai Taikai in this scenario. But yeah, as always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Who do you think would win the male and female division based off the options given? Drop a like on the video as well and sub to the channel as we are so close to 1k subscribers. All support is massively appreciated. Stay tuned for the next video, which will be my knockout bracket scenario with my answers of who would win. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.